Hello, it's Mrs. McCullough again, and we're continuing on with our series on how readers question and predict. Last lesson, we learned a song that really goes through how readers have these types of thoughts during the reading. Read, read, read the text, question while you go. Predict what will happen next, read on so you'll know. We found out that your prediction really happens because you put all these details together, like when we learned about the inference silhouette. And so when you look at those details and you think about the memories, the patterns, the relationships of these details and how they go together, that's when you have your prediction. Now, some people might say, oh, I had an idea, I'm making a guess. But remember, it's not just a random guess out of thin air. No, it's really based on the details and what would make sense. And so we know that to be an inference, that when you are having those types of thoughts as a prediction, it's just another form of an inference. That's what it is. And so when you read on so you'll know, you either confirm, yep, that's what I was thinking. Or if you read a little further in the text, then you find out, nope, that's not what the author really said. So I've got to go back and readjust. I have to adjust my thinking to now, see the new details that the author has given me. So those are the icons that really help us understand this prediction process during the reading. But today is focusing on something else. Today is focusing on how readers predict, but also question before they even read. Yeah, before you even start reading the words aloud. How does that work? Okay, so it's called preview. When you preview the text, then what you're doing is you're going into the text and you're looking at all of the captions that go with photos. You're looking at the maps. You're looking at the chapter titles. You're looking at everything but the paragraphs of print. So you might have done this before when you were younger. Do you ever remember being in a reading group or something like that with your teacher? Or maybe your teacher was just reading to the whole class and your teacher said, let's do a book walk. Let's look at the pictures and see what's happening first before we read the text. Do you ever remember your teacher doing that? And your teacher would talk about what was happening in the pictures, or she might ask you to tell her what you see happening in the pictures. And so why was she doing that? Was she just doing that because you were little kids? No, that's what readers do all the time. A grown-up sometimes will look through the text and look at the photos, the captions, the titles, the vocab words, some of the things before they read the paragraphs. Usually when it's something that's on a brand new topic that they don't know about. Maybe when it's some grown-up papers like insurance or taxes or something like that, or a manual to put a new piece of furniture together. They'll look through all of those before they start reading the paragraphs. And so today, that's what we're going to do. We're going to preview the text. Now, why the mask here? Why the mask? Because I want you to think about it like this. When you are previewing the text, you're going into the text to see what kinds of information you can steal. Yeah, see this like a little burglar mask? Yeah, going in to steal as much information as you can before you start reading the paragraphs. Now, I'm not saying you should want to grow up to be a thief. No, Miss McCullough, no. She doesn't want you to have that type of career. But what I am saying is if we think about a thief, what do? They kind of stake out the joint, right? They kind of see what's going on. So let's say they were going to rob a bank or something like that. They would first kind of see what's the routine, what's the pattern, when do they show up, when the security guards are there, what's the best door to go in. Those are the kinds of things that a thief might think about, and they look over everything. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to steal as much information as we can before we even read the paragraphs. So let me show you what I mean by this, okay? Let me show you. So let's say we are reading this informational text, tundra food webs. Now, that is probably something that might be new to you. It was kind of new to me as well. And so I'm going to let you in on what my thinking voice said to me when I was trying to actually steal as much information as possible. Okay, so I look at the title here. That's one way I can steal the information. Tundra food webs. Well, my thinking voice starts having thoughts. I think I've heard of tundra before. I kind of thought it was about the land. It has something to do with land. But I thought it was a cold place. And I don't see any snow here. So my thinking voice is questioning, like, so what is tundra exactly? And then I see that it's about food webs. So, okay, land, but now we're talking about food webs. So food, like how animals eat food, what food animals eat. Is that what we're talking about? So I'm a little confused by this. You see, those are the kinds of things that actually show up sometimes when you preview the text. When you start to preview the text, then it might actually start to have you question things. You are predicting to see what it's mostly about, but you're also questioning, what is going on here? What is happening? So another way that I can steal information is by even just looking at the contents, looking at the chapter titles. So let me see if I can figure anything out. Okay, tundra, which I think is the land, tundra plants, so the plants that grow on this type of land, and then the tundra plant eaters. Okay, so what eats those plants? And then the tundra meat eaters. Okay, so what eats meat in that land? Tundra decomposers. Okay, I'm already wondering, what's a decomposer? Like, I have no idea what that means. People in the tundra. So does that mean that people live here on this part? Okay, so I see it as a glossary, can learn more about it, an index. Okay, so I'm stealing as much information. So I know I'm going to learn about plants and meat eaters and plant eaters, so it does have something to do with food. So now I'm going to turn the page, and I'm going to read every text feature first. Okay, so this says a tundra food web. I see lots of pictures, animals, plants, lines, crazy lines going everywhere. I'm going to look at the key. Energy to producers. Okay, so that's red. All right, so the sun comes out, and then we have the red arrow. Okay, so it's going to some plants. Okay, and then energy to consumers. We got green arrows, energy to decomposers. We've got purple arrows. Okay, so the sun the gives energy to the plants get eaten, but I'm really confused by this. So like, does a mushroom eat a plant? That's one of my confusions. I'm just questioning that. Hopefully they'll tell me when we read it. Okay, so I can look at any kind of chart or map or graph. What about page 5? What's here? The tundra. So that's a text feature I can go in and steal information from. And there's a photo. Trying to figure out, is that sand? Is that snow? What is it? The sun sets over the tundra in the winter. What is the tundra like during the winter? Well, I can steal from the photo, but I can also steal from the caption. And since the caption tells me it's winter, I'm thinking it must be snow. So there has to be snow on a tundra. Maybe there's just not snow all the time. Okay, so let's turn the page. And now I'm looking at the photo and the caption. It says summer. Okay, so in the summer, looks like there's no snow here. And then what's the caption say? Colorful wildflowers bloom in the tundra meadow. Okay, so although I think it's a cold place, maybe there's not snow all the time. Let's look over here. There's a photo with a caption. Melting snow and ice form pools of water on the tundra. Some of the water drains into a nearby river. Okay, so it does melt. So it does have snow, but then it melts. I wonder how long it takes it before it melts. So that's a question that I'm having. One of the questions that's coming up as I'm even just previewing the text. That's all I'm doing. Okay, so now What are some of the text features that I could look at here? Maybe you're seeing the title, yeah, like the heading, the subhead that we have here, snow, water, and ice. All right, so my thinking voice is saying, all right, that's what I was thinking, that it was a lot of snow. So now we're really going to learn more about that. A pingo forms when water freezes underground. When ice pushes up on the land, a hill forms. Okay, so I'm having a question here. A pingo? What is a pingo? Is this what they're talking about? A little hill? That's a pingo? That's a new word. I've never heard of that before. I'll have to read to find out if that's really what it is. Environment. Okay, now we have a map. And I have to look at the title of the map. Tundra Areas of Earth. Okay, so now that I see these colors, yellow and brown, but I need a key. Okay, so the key brown must be where tundra is what I'm thinking. Okay, and yep, it is up here in the cold places that I know are up in the north, near the North Pole. But now I look down here and I know Antarctica at the South Pole. I know it's really cold. So I have a question. Why isn't it tundra down here? What is it instead? I'll have to read to find out to see if it'll answer that. About 1/10 of Earth's land is tundra. There is tundra in Alaska. Tundra stretches across northern Canada, northern Europe, and Asia are covered with tundra too. So something about it's just in the north, but why isn't it in the south? I don't know. I'll have to read to find out. Okay. So now I want us to stop for a minute and I want you to have a chance to actually try this out. And I want you to pay attention to what your thinking voice is whispering to you. Okay. So we have things on here that we can look at. We have subheads, we have captions, we have photos. So let's look at page 10. What are you looking at first? The photo. Okay. And what do you see? Yeah. At first it looks like a rock, doesn't it? But what is it? I think it's a skull too. Yeah, like a skeleton of an animal. Okay, so just the head part. So let's read what it says. Antlers and other animal bones slowly break down. They become part of the tundra's soil. New plants grow in the soil. Okay, so pay attention. Pay attention. What's your thinking voice saying to you? Is it saying, yep, I knew that? Is it having any questions? Antlers and other animal bones slowly break down. Is it asking questions like, how does that happen? Is it asking questions like, how long does it take it to break down? Yeah, is it asking things like that? Yeah, maybe that's some of the questions you're having as well. Let's look at page 11. You see the heading up here? It says food chains. Okay, so let's just stop for a minute. Does your thinking voice have any thoughts about food chains? Have you heard of that before? Does it relate to anything that you've ever learned? Does it have something to do with an animal eats a plant? Then another animal eats that animal? Have you heard of that before? Is it something like that? We'll have to read to find out, okay? So what's in the photo? Yeah, a moose. And what's it have on its head? Antlers. Is that making you think about the antlers? It could. It could bring a connection to something that you've just read. Your thinking voice is talking to you. Let's read the caption. The sun shines on a moose as it eats a willow plant. The moose gets some of the sun's energy from the willow. Okay, so you have any thoughts? How does that happen? Oh, that's a food chain. The moose eats the plant. Maybe, are you having any thoughts like, what eats the moose? Yeah. Are you thinking, oh, this reminds me of the story we read in the last lesson? And we did learn that something eats the moose. What eats the moose? That's right, a wolf. That's what we learned in the last lesson because the animal tracks were chasing after a moose. Okay, let's look at page 12. There's no heading here, but we have the photo, we have the caption. Those are the text features that we're going to use to steal information, okay? So what do you see here? Some kind of little, I don't know, squirrel, rodent, groundhog, I don't know, right? You wondering too? And what's it doing? Does it have something in its hands? Is it going to eat that? What is it? Okay, so let's read. A collared lemming eats part of a dwarf willow in its burrow in the active layer. Have any questions? Yeah. Is a collared lemming kind of like a squirrel? Eats part of a dwarf willow? Is dwarf? I mean, I've heard of the 7 dwarfs. Is that a plant? In a burrow? Is that what this is? And what's an active layer? Have you ever heard of that? Is that what I mean, it gave us some words in the caption, but maybe the words just brought up even more questions with your thinking voice. We'll have to read to find out, okay? Let's look at this one. What's happening here? Oh my goodness. Woo! It's like way up in the air, isn't it? I wonder why it's doing that. Did your thinking voice wonder that too? Yeah. I wonder why it's doing that. Those are the questions that you have when you preview and predict. Okay, so what does it say? An Arctic fox pounces on a small animal moving under the snow. Oh, that's why it's straight up in the air. It's pouncing, right? On a small animal. Are you wondering what animal that is? Yeah, me too. Wondering, how does it even see that animal in all this snow? You wondering that? Okay, so those are examples of how, before we even read the text, when it's something that's new and different, maybe we don't know a lot of information about this type of area and animals and things like that. That's why it's really important to preview the text. To go in and at first just look at each page, talk about the photos, talk about the maps, talk about the different diagrams, look at the headings, all of those kinds of things, and then see what your thinking voice says to you. And is it making a prediction? I know what this is going to be all about. Or is it asking some questions? Okay. So I want you to try this out, and we're going to do it with the rest of this book. Okay, so I'm going to put the link in here underneath the video. And there were many more chapters, chapter 2, chapter 3, chapter 4, chapter 5, all of these chapters, okay? And so this is actually a read to me book. And what I would suggest is that you not turn it on play. When you open it up, it'll automatically start reading it to you. But I would suggest that you pause it and you first look through every page. And just see what's your thinking voice saying to you. What's your thinking voice saying to you? And be an information thief as you look at all of the titles, the pictures, the captions, the charts, everything. Just look at that first. Then go back and either read it on your own. It's a pretty hard book for 2nd and 3rd grade, or listen to it. Okay, that's why I chose the one that you could listen to and then see if any of your questions get answered. But you know what I think? I think you need a mask. You want a mask? I got you one. You ready? I'll show you. I got you one right here. So this will be linked below the video as a student resource. And you can either print it off, or just like we did with the magnifying glass, put a blank piece of paper up to it and draw around it. Okay? Just trace it, and then you can cut it out. All right? So if you print it out, it looks like this. And then, get some scissors, some kid-friendly scissors, or ask an adult to help you and start cutting out the mask. Now, remember, I taught you with the magnifying glass, don't just cut through the middle. How do you get the eye holes out? Oh, you just barely bend it, remember, and do a snip. Then put your scissors in to get to that line, okay? That's what you're going to do. And then you're going to cut around, okay? So when you cut around, I already kind of started this one for you. When you cut around, then the eye hole will come completely out. And so then what you need to do is take the other strap that's listed down there below and cut it out, tape it on. I've got some tape, and then wrap it around. Now, Miss McCullough has a pretty big head, and this didn't quite fit around my head, but no worries. Just get you some more paper, tape it on, make it longer, and then put on your information thief mask. Okay, don't get it super tight because you want to be able to take it on and off as you first preview the text. Look at all the text features. Look at all of the pictures, the photos, the captions, the headings. Then see, do you have any thoughts? Do you have any predictions? Do you have any questions? Okay? Does it make you wonder about something? Are you questioning anything? That would be the assignment if you were in Mrs. McCullough's class, but your teacher might have an even better idea.